Hello and welcome to the Manufacturing Shakeup. My name is Jenny Drescher.
And I'm Ellen Feldman-Ornato.
We are so excited to have Sara Fradette with us. Sara, am I saying that right? I feel like I'm going to butcher your name.
No, you're saying it correctly. Thanks.
Excellent. And you're with Bead Electronics. Thanks so much for spending time with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
There's so many questions going on in my head right now about who you are. And so give our audience a brief snapshot of who you are and how you came to be a bead.
Sure. So I grew up in Connecticut and I went to the University of New Haven for my bachelor's and master's degree. I have a bachelor's in economics and my master's is an MBA in strategic leadership. And as I was about to graduate from my MBA program, one of my professors reached out to me and said, "Hey, there's this great opportunity to work at a local manufacturing company. Would you be interested?" And of course, I jumped at the opportunity. I came in here, I met a bunch of people, interviewed with the president, and it was kind of a perfect fit. And I've been here ever since. So I've been at Bead now for 3 years. I started off in customer service, and I've now been doing production planning for 2 years.
Okay, so production planning. Say a little bit more about that. What do you actually do on a day-to-day basis in your work?
Yeah, so every day is different, which I really like. My job is very dynamic, which makes it really fun and interesting. But basically what I do is I schedule all of the work to be done on our manufacturing floor. So I work with our ERP system, which does a lot of the planning for me. But I facilitate and get work orders out on the floor, and I make sure that things are scheduled on the right machines, scheduled efficiently to minimize changeovers and things like that. And I work with the operators very closely to make sure that they have what they need to be successful. I'm also in charge of all material procurement. So I purchase raw material, I meet with our suppliers. I do a lot of that work as far as just ordering material and getting it here on time. I also manage inventory, so I do a lot of inventory corrections and physical inventories and fun things like that, and it's a huge project that we've been undertaking lately. And lastly, I manage our customer service specialist, so I work very closely with her, and I get a lot of the input as far as what the customers need, so that we can meet their demands.
I love that. And you're pointing directly to the thing that, so when I read your bio, when our producer handed us your bio, what jumped out at me and got me all excited about you visiting with us today was that you went to school for economics. Like manufacturing was not on your radar at all. And
No.
here you are doing all this wicked cool production planning and like, how does stuff get made and when does it get made? It's so completely different than how you probably had not a single thought that that's where you were going to land when you were like a freshman going, I think I'm going to study economics. Like, what a cool leap. I just think it's so fun because it's a story that we see over and over in manufacturing where people don't know they're going to land there and then they land there and they learn how to do all this wonderful stuff like what you're describing.
Yeah. Yeah, so like you said, exactly, I did not picture myself coming into manufacturing. And even though I grew up in Connecticut, I had no clue there was so much manufacturing so local to like where I grew up. And, I'm currently in Milford now, and I grew up 15 minutes from here. So I had no clue that there were so many companies in Milford that did manufacturing. But like I said, when I came here to interview, it was a really good fit. I loved seeing how things were made and being able to just walk out onto the factory floor and seeing like what the process is. And now that I'm in manufacturing, I absolutely love it. I can't imagine, what my life would look like if I hadn't come to Bead. And like I said, I love that I just can walk out into the floor, see how things are made. I can go out and speak to the operators. I can make an impact, and I can, expedite things when needed, and I can kind of work with the various departments and get my hands-on experience with a lot of different areas that I would have never had exposure to.
Yeah, and it was right here in your backyard the whole time. I feel like that's a thing in Connecticut, that we have so much of an identity here about insurance, but here this cool thing called manufacturing right in your backyard the whole time you've been alive. And now you get to go and you get to see how things are made. Humans are always fascinated. Like when we do plant tours, we love seeing how things are made too. So I'm super curious about, like, if you were to invite other women to explore that, what would be your approach in asking them to explore some of the things you've discovered?
So I would say to just be open-minded and ask a lot of questions, because we've all heard it said that there are no stupid questions, but it's so true. When you, especially for me, not having a background in manufacturing, I didn't know what any of these things meant. I didn't know what a die was. I didn't know like how the raw material got here. I didn't know where it came from. I didn't know any of the stuff that I know now, and I have so much more to learn, which is so exciting. But I'm constantly asking questions. I'll meet with our engineers and figure out why this or why did we make it that way. And I feel like a lot of it is just being open-minded and not being afraid to just say, like, I actually have no clue what that means. Can we like go back for a second? Can you explain that? I have a question about this. Because that's been one of the really fun parts, is just seeing how things are made and understanding like the really old technology that we still use today to make parts that are so vital to our everyday lives. I just think it's really, really interesting and really cool to see.
So one of the things that I know is unique about Bead is that you have female leadership at your organization. Can you talk a little bit about women in manufacturing and your experience of women in manufacturing at Bead specifically?
Yeah. So I know that a lot of manufacturing companies don't have a ton of women working at their companies, but we actually have over 50% of woman workforce. Our CEO is a woman, and our CFO is also a woman. So we have women in very high leadership positions here. But I will say that I don't think that's why our culture is so women rich. I think that we just hire based on merit alone, and the gender doesn't really even come into it in the hiring process. And so I feel like the culture is what has brought so many women into this company. Not really there's not a driving force to hire more women or have a certain percentage. We just have such a good culture. We have work-life balance, and we have really good core values that we talk about all the time. And the company culture here just brings people in regardless of your gender, regardless of any other factor except for your merit and your opportunity to be here. So I think that's really cool. I feel very spoiled to be at a company with women leaders, because to me it's so normal. I see, our CEO is 2 doors down, our CFO is next to my office, and I feel so spoiled to have so many women around me in this company in leadership positions, and they're so kind, they're so down to earth, and I can go walk into either one of their offices and ask them a question, and they will always take the time to talk to me and explain something, or if I need to vent about something, they're always there for me, and I just love it. It's great.
You said something really interesting just then that we don't usually hear. So normally when we're working with any kind of organization, manufacturing or otherwise, what we hear is like values schmalues. They're a poster on the wall. But you just said we talk about our core values all the time. And you also expressed about what a strong culture that is. Like, what do those conversations look like?
Yeah.
Because that's a whole level of walking the talk that is very intriguing to me.
Yes. So yeah, we have our core values, and they are posted on the wall, but we talk about them all the time. So we hire and promote and fire based on our core values, because we feel here that you can teach the technical aspects, you can teach the manufacturing aspects, you can teach a lot of different things, but you can't teach someone's core values or their culture. And so what we really hire based off of is a culture fit. So when someone comes in for an interview, or they're getting their yearly review, we go through the core values and we say, how do you fit with this? Do you have accountability? Do you work with others well and collaborate? And the other core values as well. And we really talk about them all the time. If you walk out onto our floor, every single person in this company knows all of our core values, and we try to center our culture around that. And I think that is a really big part of why we like working here, is because the core values are not just a poster on the wall, but it's something that we really do live and die by, and that's something that we really have put a lot of effort into.
It sounds like you spend a lot of time investing in developing yourself from a professional development standpoint. How important is it to you to always be growing in your job, and how have you either pursued your own development, or how has the company supported you in your development as you've grown in this role?
Yeah. So absolutely. When I first started, I started off in customer service, and about a year into that, I had a conversation with my boss, who's the president of our company, and he said, you're doing a really good job. We want to continue to grow your role. Where do you want to go? Do you want to go into sales? Do you want to go into operations? Do you want to go into purchasing? What do you like to do? And he allowed me to have that choice so that I would feel more invested and like I had more growth. And so I chose to go in the operations and purchasing direction, and that's where I am now. But through my whole experience here, my boss Lou has been a great mentor to me. He'll sit down with me anytime and explain something if I don't understand something on like the accounting side or something on the manufacturing side. Either way, he'll always take the time to make sure that I understand it, and he's open to any questions that I have. And so that's been a great help to me in furthering my career, because I'm not somebody who likes to be stuck or feel stagnant. So the fact that I've had so many opportunities for growth here, and even looking into my future with him, we've talked about what's my next step, what's my next goal, where am I going? And so that has been inspiring to me, because I know that I'm not going to be, I'm not going to get bored, and I'm not going to be staying put. I like to keep moving and growing, and I like to take on new challenges and fix things and find problems and help things get better around here. So that's been really cool. And another way that the company has invested in me is that they have enrolled me for a program with Vistage called Emerging Leaders. I've been doing that program now for over a year, and my 2-year program will end early in 2025. So that's been a really cool opportunity for me to learn and grow with other emerging leaders in the workplace. So we meet once a month, and that's been a really awesome opportunity that they've invested in me.
Yeah, Vistage does good work. They do some very fine programs. I wanted to step into something that I heard you say, which was when you were first there and you were in customer service, and you had a leader that tapped you on the shoulder and said, "What do you want?" So clearly you're a go-getter. Clearly you like to solve problems and go after things and be in a discovery and learning mode. But if you think back into that moment, what scared you in that moment? Like, what made you nervous?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it did. I'm still young in my career, so I felt a lot of just nerves around, what do I want to do? Is this next step gonna define the rest of my career? What if I hate it? Like, what if I hate purchasing? What if I hate operations? This is a lot. It's stressful, but it was really cool to have the opportunity to choose what I wanted to do and what my next steps were. And clearly I decided that I didn't want to go directly into sales, although I still work with the customers closely, which I think is an awesome aspect of working at a small company, is that I get to kind of have my hands in a lot of different baskets and do a lot of different things. But I really appreciate being given the opportunity to do something that I love, and not being pushed towards something that I could care less for.
Right.
And you're in a small company, right? So you get to wear a lot of hats.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Which is why, it's really fun to work here, because I do wear a lot of hats, which of course sometimes can be stressful, but in reality, it helps me see a lot of different aspects of the business, which I really appreciate.
And the majority of Connecticut's manufacturers are 35 employees or smaller. So it's great to hear you say and talk about, the career opportunities in these small manufacturing environments, and how you get to do a lot of different things that if you were in a bigger company and you had a sort of more formal position, you might be a little more boxed in by that description. It seems like you get to do sort of follow your curiosity to the extent that you want to.
Yeah, I really appreciate that I don't have to work in a silo, and I'm not, one of 10 or 20 people in one department that all do the same thing every day. I like that I get to have an impact around different parts of the organization.
I'm curious also, so because you have this environment that really sounds very nourishing, right? You walk your talk, you live your values, there's a lot of development, there's a priority on sort of the quality of the experience for the employee. So employers out there, take note of some of what Sara is giving us, because these are great notes that any of our Connecticut manufacturers can borrow and implement and start to use in their own workplaces. I'm wondering about how does that carry over into the rest of your life?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we follow a process here called EOS, which is a management strategy. And at some of the EOS conferences, I've actually heard people say, I've implemented EOS into my personal life, which I think is really cool. So it's the culture here just allows us to have our lives, and we can work from home if necessary, and we can do all these different things to have our to nourish our personal lives too. But it helps me to see, where do I want to be in 5 to 10 years, and why do I, why am I here? Why am I at Bead? And I like working here, and it's been a great experience for me. So I feel like that has been a huge help to my personal life, and just being able to grow my career and not have to, wonder what is my next step, or, am I going to be able to grow more? Am I going to be able to aspire to the aspirations that I have,
Oh, I love the way you talk about that, because what it makes me think of is this sort of like curiosity and energy begetting more curiosity and energy.
Yeah.
Right? Which I think is completely the opposite, the way that I think most people don't think of manufacturing that way. I think if we think about manufacturing, we think about, show up, make the widget. If we think about all the classic stereotypes about manufacturing, that is definitely not one of them.
Yeah.
Right. So that's another great note for us about our own little home state here, is that energy begetting energy quality to the way you're talking about it is great for a little state like ours, right? For the economic engine.
Yeah.
So Sarah, we're coming too quickly to the end of this conversation with you, and the podcast is called The Manufacturing Shakeup. So if you think of the year ahead of you, how are you going to shake up manufacturing? What are you going to do that's going to shake things up a little bit in your work life or there at Bead Manufacturing?
Yeah. I think something that I want to continue to do and do even more is just question the assumptions. I want to just, let's pretend we know nothing. Let's just start from square one, and, let's see what we can improve. What can we do better? What can we become more efficient on? Or where can we grow? Where are we going next? And I think that that's something that I want to do more here, and just do more in general. And I think that will be have a big impact on manufacturing in general, and also here at Bead, because I want to keep growing and just seeing where else can we go, and what can we do better, and what markets can we enter, and what industries can we disrupt. So.
You heard it there first, friends, on the Manufacturing Shakeup. Sara Fradette of Bead Electronics, production planner, ready to shake up assumptions. I think I might have to do some of that too. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. We've loved having you on. Hopefully you'll come back and hang out with us some more, maybe with some other great people working in manufacturing.
Thank you guys so much.
Thanks for listening to the Manufacturing Shakeup. You can listen to us each week on your favorite podcast app. You'll find us on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. And if you use the hashtag MFG Shakeup, we will see them and really appreciate your spreading the word about what you're hearing and learning each week. Hey, Jenny, did I forget anything?
Yes, you did. Here's the most important bit. You may have learned something from that guest. They may have told a story about, oh, here's what I did and here's how it worked. Here at the Manufacturing Shakeup, we are all about action. So take some nugget of what you heard today and put it into practice, even if it's small and experimental. Get busy, get dangerous, go shake stuff up, and bring people along with you. Go take an action, post it on social media. Let's have some fun.
The Manufacturing Shakeup is sponsored by the Connecticut Office of Manufacturing, produced by Maselli Productions and Gale Communications, and hosted by the Boulder Company.